Welcome to a brand new episode of the Jampack Report today for February the 24th of 2020. Of course, my name is Samuel Adams and we've got a ton of news to dive into today because the gaming industry, it came and it just didn't stop on Monday. Who would have thought that we would have gotten more details about the Xbox Series X on Monday morning with a confirmation of 12 teraflops of GPU power? Without further ado, let's dive into today's top news because that's what you guys are here for. Microsoft is revealing more specifications about its next generation Xbox Series X hardware today. The biggest new confirmation is that the Xbox Series X will include 12 teraflops of GPU performance, which is twice what's available on the Xbox One X and 8 times the original Xbox One. This type of performance puts the Xbox Series X beyond most mid-range graphics cards from AMD and Nvidia, and it is an impressive jump for a game console. It certainly shows that the next-gen Xbox and PlayStation 5 are going to go far beyond the Xbox One X and the PlayStation 4 Pro. Quote, Xbox Series X delivers a true generational leap in processing and graphics power, with cutting-edge techniques resulting in higher frame rates, larger, more sophisticated game worlds, and an immersive experience unlike anything seen in console gaming, claims Xbox chief Phil Spencer. Microsoft has previously revealed hardware-accelerated DirectX ray tracing and variable rate shading, and the company says it has patented its own form of VRS. Rather than spending GPU cycles uniformly to every single pixel on the screen, developers can prioritize individual effects on specific game characters or important environmental objects, explained Spencer. This technique results in more stable frame rates and higher resolution with no impact on final image quality. The Xbox Series X will include a custom-designed CPU based on AMD's Zen 2 and Radeon RDNA 2 architecture, and Microsoft is also using an NVMe SSD on the Xbox Series X, which promises to boost load times, and nearly every aspect of playing games is improved, according to Spencer. Xbox Series X will also support 8K gaming and frame rates of up to 120 FPS in games, but Microsoft says it has partnered with the HDMI form and TV manufacturers to enable auto low latency mode and variable refresh rate on the Series X as part of its HDMI 2.1 support. This should reduce input lag and smooth out visuals in games on TVs. Alongside the hardware specs, the next-gen Xbox Series X is also set to feature a quick resume feature. Microsoft used a similar feature on the Xbox One to resume games, but it is now promising to let Xbox Series X owners resume multiple games from a suspended state. That will be a big improvement for switching between games or when you resume from standby. Microsoft is also fully supporting backwards compatibility on the Xbox Series X, including original Xbox and Xbox 360 games. The Xbox maker is also branding its future Xbox game studios as, quote, smart delivery, and we'll talk about that more in just a moment. Microsoft is promising to share, quote, more details about the new Xbox with you in the coming months as the company approaches key dates like the Game Developers Conference next month and E3 in June. We are still waiting to hear more information about pricing, exact availability, next-gen launch titles, and whether a second, cheaper next-gen Xbox is going to be coming in 2020. Now, that is a lot of info to break down. Now, if you do want to see the entire blog post, it is up right now on the Xbox Wire. But there is so much information here. Number one, first and foremost, we now know at least a base of what to expect from the next generation of consoles. 12 teraflops is now the official number that has been thrown out in terms of how powerful these consoles are going to be. Now, this is something that has been rumored for quite a good amount of time. 12 teraflops is kind of what people had been expecting. And of course, all these other features right here, some of which we knew about, some of which we didn't, are going to be welcome additions to the lineup as well. Now, quick resume is something that you might be saying, Sam, I thought we already had that going for us on the Xbox One X and the Xbox One and the Xbox One S, and technically yes, but the main draw of this is that instead of having one game that you can resume automatically, you are going to be able to do that with multiple games. In a way, think of it as having multiple tabs open in Google Chrome or having multiple programs open on your computer. You can run them simultaneously and jump back and forth between each, which is certainly going to be something that a lot of people do take advantage of. Personally, me, that doesn't sound like something that's that mind-blowing, that's that amazing, because there are very few times when I'm playing, personally, games more than one at a time. I tend to focus on one until I'm done or I'm tired of playing, and then I shut that one down and move on to another one. But regardless, I'm sure it will come in handy. On top of that, stuff like DirectX ray tracing and variable rate shading, and of course on top of that, the variable refresh rate as well. These are all going to make a very big difference when it comes to how games look. It's not going to look like a console game anymore. It's going to run and feel like a PC game being played on a controller. So those are all phenomenal features, but overwhelmingly, I think that right now you see the drama between PlayStation and Xbox beginning to unfold, because we still know little to nothing about the PlayStation 5, especially in terms of its price, which we still don't know much about from the Xbox Series X. But the general consensus around the industry is that this looks like a $500 console. That's kind of what it comes down to. Now, that is not confirmed, but that's what most people agree with, and I would say that's pretty much my take as well. And so if you have this console that is roughly the power of a high-end PC, and you have this console that is roughly going to be on par with the high-end PC gaming experience, $500 seems like a bargain, especially depending on how much its competition is going to be charging, which again is yet to be determined as of February 24th of 2020. But if you do want to check out the entire rundown of the specs, of the details, again, it's up right now on the Xbox Wire, and it's pinned, I believe, on the Xbox Twitter page. However, let's talk about that smart delivery situation we've got going on, because if you buy Cyberpunk 2077 on the Xbox One and you get the Series X version for free, and of course, this is as confirmed by CD Projekt. Just minutes after the announcement of Microsoft's cross-buy scheme for the Xbox Series X, Cyberpunk 2077 studio CD Projekt has become the first studio to say it will take part. In short, if you buy the Xbox One version of Cyberpunk 2077 when it arrives on the 17th of September, you will get the Xbox Series X edition when it launches as well. Quote, gamers should never be forced to purchase the same game twice or pay for upgrades, CD Projekt said via Twitter. Owners of Cyberpunk 2077 for the Xbox One will receive the Xbox Series X upgrade for free when available. CD Projekt has to date remained coy on Cyberpunk 2077's next-gen release plans. Although it's delayed to mid-September, just 6 weeks before new consoles are expected to arrive, all but confirmed we would see versions for Sony and Microsoft's newest machines. Microsoft's cross-buy scheme for the Xbox Series X games is named Smart Delivery. Announced this afternoon, it will be supported by all 15 first-party Xbox Games Studios games. For third-party developers such as CD Projekt, it is opt-in, something Eurogamer understands is heavily encouraged but not required. Cyberpunk 2077 is the first third-party game announced to take advantage of it, but today we learned Xbox Series X would boast a 12 teraflops GPU, among other snazzy things, which we just covered in today's show. Now, smart delivery is something that I have been in many conversations about on Twitter as of this afternoon, so I wanted to take a moment to clear it up. For some people, you'll say, isn't this backwards compatibility? No, backwards compatibility is taking the exact same game and bringing it forward to a new generation. It is not improved, it is not a different version, it is not developed by somebody else, it is the exact same game. Occasionally, they might run better on the Xbox One X, but that's not the same situation. It's still the same game. When it comes to the overall situation with smart delivery, these are two different versions of the same game. Think Assassin's Creed 4 on PS3 versus Assassin's Creed 4 on the PlayStation 4, but you buy one, you automatically get upgraded to the other one, and vice versa. So you can play the exact same game, but with various console variations and various improvements based on the newer hardware. That's kind of the situation we've got going on here. Now, it's worth noting, this is not something that has been exclusive to the future. This is not something that is going to be only available on the Xbox One and the Xbox Series X, because, as I was pointed out to by somebody on Twitter, this is something PlayStation did between several games on the PS3 and the PS4, as well as the PlayStation Vita, through cross-buy. Now, that being taken into account, this is still setting a precedent for what to expect for the next generation. Now this is the expectation and not the exception, to be able to upgrade directly to the newest version of the game for free. Now that's been laid down as pretty much the groundwork for how we see the next generation to come, and that's very exciting, because whenever I started to play Again, the one that comes to mind is Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. I basically played through the entire game on the Xbox 360, and then I got my PlayStation 4. So I had to go back, rebuy the game, replay the game. It became such a hassle, and then again, I had to buy the game twice, which was a huge pain. And so with all of that being pretty much taken out of the equation, this seems like a very gamer-friendly approach. This is something that is going to be consumer-focused, and it's something that I hope Sony does follow suit with. And again, like I was pointed out to on Twitter, this is something that is totally 100% doable because of the fact that it's basically already been done through cross-buy. Sony just has to opt into it. And right now, I think that they should opt into it because of the optics of the entire situation. Being as gamer-friendly as possible is what Xbox has been going for, and PlayStation has pretty much been chilling on their haunches, enjoying the fact that they have the best experiences in games. And so to be able to say, hey, if you buy The Last of Us Part 2 over the summer on your PlayStation 4, not only does your progress carry over thanks to cloud saves, but you get the new edition of the game for free, and it's as easy as popping the disc in, verifying you own it, and then you download the new version on your PlayStation 5. That is the kind of approach that I want to see. Now, that is going to have to be something we wait and see if it actually becomes a reality, but right now, Xbox is laying down a pretty strong precedent for the next gen. But let's talk about this gen, because Xbox One owners will be able to eject discs with a controller. I never knew this was a thing somebody needed until I was then shown the entire comments section on various forums and posts. After nearly 7 years, the Xbox One is finally getting a function users have clamored for since launch: disc ejecting with a controller. By simply highlighting the disc in the main menu of the Xbox One, you will soon have the ability to eject a disc by pressing X. Right now, the feature is live by way of the Xbox Insiders program, but as is typical of these sorts of updates, it will eventually arrive on the other consoles. Astute Xbox fans will recall that the Xbox 360 had the ability to eject discs with a remote as well. It is just a simple thing, but more functionality rules. Consoles are not as customizable as PCs, so we are completely at the mercy of manufacturers when it comes to esoteric demands like this, and after many years, folks demanded it. Well, it sounds like a pointless addition. A lot of folks have reported that their disc eject button or their disc tray has failed, and now they will have the chance to properly eject discs. So that's pretty much what the situation is as it stands today. People began to realize their buttons were failing on the front of the Xbox One X, the Xbox Series X, that one's not failing yet. It doesn't exist. The Xbox One X, the Xbox One S, and the Xbox One. If you were to eject a disc, the little nipple-style button on the front, apparently you can push that through, which, needless to say, kind of adverse to functionality going forward. And so to be able to eject disc with a button sounds like the lazy man's way to get up and get the disc out of the machine, but in reality, it's pretty much a workaround for if you still rock the day one Xbox One. That is going to come very much so in handy if that button is to ever fail. Now, hopefully, God forbid that happens to you, but now, thanks to the Xbox Insiders program and coming soon to a console near you, it looks like that is going to be something that becomes a reality. However, enough talk about Xbox. Let's talk about PlayStation, because the PS5 controller patent hints at the use of biofeedback to monitor heart rate and sweat. Details concerning the PlayStation 5 controller remain scant. Interestingly, a recent filed patent offers details about peripherals that Sony may have planned for the device. These peripherals feature biofeedback technology that monitors a player's heart rate and sweat secretion. With this tech, gameplay should receive adjustments according to information fed to the controller's sensing apparatus. According to the patent initially spotted by Respawn first, the biofeedback tech will come in the form of a sensor attachment for the controller. The patent's abstract outlined the attachment's functionality as follows, and I quote: "The biofeedback sensor attachment, comprising one or more sensors for obtaining biofeedback information, arranges such that at least one sensor is in contact with a user's hand during normal use of the controller, and an output unit operable to output biofeedback information about measurements made by one or more sensors." The patent explains that developers aim to better immerse players in gaming experiences. This attachment could aid in such an endeavor, measuring emotional responses and offering feedback accordingly. Additionally, technological advancements of this nature are becoming increasingly more desirable given the increasing availability of head-mountable displays, such as Sony's very own PlayStation VR. Some schematic representations of how the biofeedback attachment may look feature in the patent as well. And the image is pictured below show the attachment represented as different types of sleeves that slide over the controller's arms. And there you have it. Just going to give you a minute to take that in for the audio listeners out there. The first option is that you pretty much have these two little cups that slide over each end of the DualShock handles, if you will. And then you have pretty much what looks to be a back sleeve on one end, and then something that covers the entirety of the face of the controller, except for the touchpad and the thumbsticks on another. Moreover, the patent makes mention of pricing concerns, briefly noting, quote, a need to provide a low-cost peripheral. And after all, if consumers don't buy the peripheral, developers are unlikely to see a reason to take advantage of the technology. As with all patents, the existing of these plans do not mean Sony will act upon that, which is outlined above. Still, it seems an interesting possibility, especially given the haptic feedback that is already baked into the PlayStation 5 controller. And so this is a unique idea, and I want to make one thing very clear. This is not to say that it is definitively happening. This is something that is an idea, a concept that is being locked down by Sony that could be used in the future. Now, they've been talking a lot about how the PlayStation 5 is going to primarily make use of the controller to really change up the way that games are played and to completely revolutionize the way that games are experienced. And so thinking about experiences like the playable teaser for Silent Hill, thinking about stuff like Outlast, thinking about Blair Witch. I think that came to PlayStation 4. It did. It originally launched on the Xbox One and PC, but it came to PlayStation 4. These horror games, that is going to be able to take huge advantage of this biofeedback sensor. And if you identify that somebody is scared, if you identify that somebody is tense, you can up that tensity, and you can actually make a scarier game. That's something that's very exciting to me. Or if you see they're freaking out, alternatively, you can reel it back in a bit and say, hey, I don't want you to have a heart attack. That could be interesting as well. So it depends on how people actually use this, but it certainly does give developers a new set of tools to really enhance the way that they approach their game design, and it could revolutionize the way we experience games in the future. However, moving on, Activision subpoenas Reddit in hopes of tracking down a Call of Duty leaker. Activision is taking legal aim at the online leakers circulating images and details of a rumored Battle Royale mode headed to Call of Duty Modern Warfare, going so far as to subpoena Reddit to uncover the identity of one of those leakers. Activision's legal action is not quite as aggressive as other leak-stopping efforts like Epic Games' recent lawsuit against a former tester for leaking Fortnite content, but according to reports picked up by Torrent Freak, Activision has certainly had its hands full containing details about the unreleased mode. The subpoena, directed at Reddit, aims to uncover the person that posted an image depicting Call of Duty Warzone, the rumored new mode, under a now-deleted Reddit account, Assyrian 2410. In that document, Activision counsel says the posted image infringes on Activision's rights under copyright law, and with the subpoena signed, Reddit has until the end of February to deliver the requested details. As Torrent Freak points out, the original poster had also claimed the image was passed along to them by an inside source, meaning Activision's action here could be part of a larger effort to track down the image's origin. Meanwhile, a handful of other people posting images and video of the unannounced mode have seen their content hit with DMCA takedowns. And so this is interesting because, number one, it confirms all of that stuff that we talked about last week is legitimate. On top of that, it's unique to see them tracking this down, and I think that Gamasutra really nailed the reasoning behind this sleuthing being done by Activision, because quite frankly, they need to find out who the weasel is within the department itself, and they need to get them out of there. If you don't want your game leaked, and you see gameplay or information or a screenshot leaked online by somebody who says they are an inside source, you need to find that inside source, you need to get them out of there. Now, you see a lot of people just embracing the hype these days. You see leaks come out, they ride it for a couple of days, and then they just bump the announcement up to a specific date. But right now, I don't think that Warzone is ready to play. I don't think that Warzone is completely finished. And I think that right now, Activision is irritated with the fact that now all of the hype they had generated for the new Battle Royale mode, that's all basically gone. And now people just know it's coming and they're waiting for it. And I think that's the point that I really want to drive home here, is that whenever it comes to a marketing department at a game company, they work very diligently to make sure that the announcements they make, the hype they generate, all of it's very very intentional. They want to make a show. They want to put on some kind of impressive announcement, and these kind of leaks, they limit their ability to do that, and that's a huge bummer, you know? And so I hate to see it, but on top of that, it also gets me excited because I do report on this kind of thing. I get excited about this kind of thing, and so, you know, I can't help but pay attention to it, gawk at it, spread the news, and now we're talking about a subpoena against Reddit, which I'm sure will probably provide the information, and hopefully they will find the image and find the person who leaked it. But as for right now, nothing to report except for the fact that action is being taken. So hey, if it's you, you better watch out. You better not cry, because Activision's coming. I'm telling you why. You posted all their shit on Reddit. Anyways, check out these new Resident Evil 3 screenshots. Now, let me tell you, I was going through a lot of various articles, and I found tons that were covering this news, but so many just leaked out. Leaked, linked, same thing in this situation, to the Reddit post, to the Imgur album. They just put them up on the site, so I went with Windows Central. But the Resident Evil 3 remake is almost here, and it features a remake of the game and a new multiplayer experience called Resident Evil Resistance. So if you want to see more screenshots from the title, a website called GamerGen appears to have posted a lot on Imgur, and you can take a look at some of them below. Now, these are 23 of the most notable ones, and this is pretty much what you can expect whenever Resident Evil 3 Remake launches. At least there is some concept art as well as some gameplay. But it looks to me that Resistance is going to be basically Resident Evil Call of Duty Zombies, and I like the sound of it. I think that's going to work very well, and I'm excited to see how everything kind of shakes out whenever the game does launch. But primarily, I'm excited about the Resident Evil 3 Remake proper. Of course, I think that a lot of people feel the exact same way. But right now, if you think about the zombies experience, there hasn't been one in the recent Call of Duty game. You have stuff like, what's the game that I'm thinking of? Not Killer Instinct. Anyways, there's another zombie game that has a K in the title of, oh man, what is the name of that game? I cannot think of it. It was given away for free with PlayStation Plus a couple of years back. But there is a lack of a definitive zombies experience right now, and I think that Resident Evil Resistance, if it's good, has the potential to actually fill that. And so if you think about the potential of that game being combined with the fact that it's given away for free with Resident Evil 3, it could be a very big seller for 2020, and it could even generate a following going into the next generation. But there you have the Tyrant, all of the good gameplay that you expect from a Resident Evil remake, these horrifying, god-awful, oh, it's so nasty. But excited to dive into it because Resident Evil 2 was a sleeper hit for me that I did not expect to be as big as it was, and I dove into it on the day that it was released and fell in love with the game. If Resident Evil 3 is half as good as the Resident Evil 2 remake, let me tell you, we are in for a treat with this one. So if you want to dive into it again, the game is going to be launching in just a couple of weeks over on, of course, Amazon, GameStop, all the places you buy games, but on the PS4, the Xbox One, and the PC. I need to figure out Resident Evil 3 release date, PS4. Looks like April 3rd, 2020. So there you have it, coming out in just a couple of months, a little over a month away. We'll go ahead and call it that. So, exciting nonetheless. Now, you could be seeing some info about it at PAX East, but not from Sony directly, but the mayor of Boston is urging Sony to return to PAX East. It's kind of sad. PlayStation has been dropping out of multiple expos and conferences lately, including both GDC and PAX East, citing fears of the coronavirus that has largely affected mainland China so far. The mayor of Boston, Marty Walsh, is not happy with Sony's decision to drop out of PAX East, which is a Boston event, and has penned a letter to Sony president Kenichiro Yoshida asking him to reconsider. The letter, which has been reported on and exerted by WCVB, points out that the odds of contracting the virus in Boston are, quote, extremely low, and there has been just one reported case of the virus in the city, and the patient is now recovering at home. Quote, these fears reinforce harmful stereotypes that generations of Asians have worked hard to dismantle, Walsh wrote in his letter. They trigger our worst impulses, to view entire groups of people with suspicion, to close ourselves off, and to miss out on the opportunities and connections our global city provides. As a large international company, you have an opportunity to set a good example, and as a leader in technology, you can show that you are motivated by facts, not fear. To date, there have been 35 total reported cases of the coronavirus in the US, and no one in the country has died from it. PAX East has promised, quote, enhanced cleaning and sanitation across the show floor, and the main draw card of Sony's appearance at PAX East was going to be the presence of a playable demo of The Last of Us Part 2, the first time the game would have been playable for the public. Attendees will now likely have to wait until the game releases on May 29th, 2020 to get their hands on it. PAX East runs from February 27th through March the 1st, and Sony has given no indication that it will reverse its decision to pull out of PAX East and GDC at this time. So first and foremost, the main thing I want to point out is that they generate a lot of revenue for Boston coming from PAX East, and so to have one of the major players pull out of the conference at the last minute is certainly going to be harming the attendance, and on top of that, it's going to be harming the income generated for the city during the event itself. So needless to say, the mayor does want PlayStation to come back and make some kind of appearance, but right now, I don't know who to believe because I am not a government official. I am not a member of the CDC. I don't know exactly what's going on with the coronavirus because you see all these rumors of China covering things up. You see rumors of people getting sick and people not reporting about it. I don't want to get any kind of illness. And let me tell you, I am way overly cautious as it is, and so I wouldn't personally be going to PAX East if I had bought a ticket, and it kind of makes sense for Sony to say, hey, we're pulling out, because a lot of people from around the world come and congeal in this one specific location, and that's not limited to the people of Boston or the people of the United States. That's from everywhere, and all of those people have been traveling, sitting in planes, breathing in that regurgitated air that rest in airplanes for years and years and years. So God only knows what kind of horrible contagions live in that. But regardless, all of that being said, the mayor of Boston is really wanting PlayStation to come back, but much like an ex-girlfriend, just not interested anymore, and you should really stop calling. However, that rounds out today's episode of the Jampack Report. If you enjoyed this one, drop me a like down below and let me know what you think about the show, and on top of that, the news we talked about. But until next time, you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. I'll talk to you soon, and peace.